What's going on, everybody? And welcome to Challenge Accepted. This week, Thomas and Frank. Frank, how you doing?
Good, good. Hey, everybody.
We are back doing Ant-Man in preparation for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania. Oh my gosh, dude, this is such a good movie. Yeah,
This was my Valentine's plan is to just hang out with the dogs and watch Ant-Man. It was a great choice. That and some good chicken tenders was perfect. That's how you
oh,
do. That's how you do Valentine's.
there you go. Where were the chicken tenders from?
They were from, I don't know, Foster Farms. They were frozen.
Okay,
Baked.
okay.
But I
Yeah,
did some like drizzle and stuff, whatever. I made them fancy, but they were yeah, they weren't fancy
yeah.
at all.
I don't want to say I support the company for various reasons, but I like Chick-fil-A nuggets. Those are good. I'm
Yeah.
not always a fan of Mickey D's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a long time since I've had Burger. Does Burger King even do chicken?
Oh, I think they do chicken fries. I don't know if Burger King knows what they do. That place is so crazy. But you gotta have Carl Jr.'s Hardee's if you guys are on the East Coast. Their
Mhm.
chicken tenders are really good.
Oh
Like
yeah,
real good quality too. Yeah.
right on. Well, okay. Talking about chicken. I was trying to think if there's a good segue there. Can't
There's
think of
that.
one. Yeah. I was like, does he grow small and look at chicken nuggets? But anyways, Ant-Man in this, there's a lot of cool perspective things in this first movie.
Yeah.
Dude, can you give us the 2-minute breakdown?
Let's do it. I got the timer in my hand. Here we go. I am flipping it right now. We start with Hank Pym. He's in actually we start with Hank Pym in the past. He's leaving Shield. There's some beef there, but I want to talk about who's on his side and who's not later on because that's important. We go to present day. Scott Lang is in prison. He looks like the least likely prisoner in history. He's just too soft. Anyways,
Yeah.
he apparently gets in a fight and he's okay, whatever. We see that he gets back and he's going to his daughter's birthday party. There's a big theme of missing time with his daughter. Guarantee that's going to be a focus in the next movie. Scott is not a robber. He is a Robin Hood character. That's MCU trying to find a way for you to root for a thief.
That's a good one.
Yeah, we go back to Hank Pym. He goes back to Pym Industries or Pym Technologies, and we see that his protege is making the Yellow Jacket costume. Not comic book accurate. I get it, guys. Calm down. We go. We see Scott, who needs some cash. He's gonna rob this old man named Hank Pym. But guess what? Pym's on it the entire time. Scott gets the suit. They go through this whole thing like, oh look, I'm small now, and he escapes the prison. They mention how the suit and the Pym particles affect brain chemistry. That's super important, guys. You need to remember that one. Meanwhile, we find out that Cross, that's the protege, finally solves the shrinking organic matter, aka he's going to start World War III. And we go back over to here. The idea is that Hank and crew are going to destroy the Pym particles. Montage, everything's super cool. They get in there, they break the company, and they destroy it, yada yada yada. Yellow Jacket is forever shrunk into the quantum realm. Guess who's going to be in the next movie? Almost guarantee that one too. And then, and then
Mhm.
we end things off with everything's okay. Hey, I'm the Falcon. Come and join the Avengers, and that's pretty much where we're at.
Time.
Yep, that's
Hey,
perfect timing.
you made it. Wow, good job, man. Nicely done. Again, I will never not be impressed with that because you always do it so calm. When I do it, I feel like I'm out of breath and like I'm late for school and my pants are around my ankles, like so yeah, that was really, really well done. I love what you said, just I forgot that the movie started in the past where we get to see Hank Pym or yeah, Hank Pym, not quite in his prime, maybe in his prime, but Janet has already disappeared and
Mhm.
we're caught up with who's leading Shield. So we get to see an old Peggy Carter, we get to
Yeah.
see Howard Stark, and we get to see Hydra Man there, and who gets punched in the face. Eh,
I want this as a movie, as a TV series, something. Give me
right.
this 60s to 80s Shield quasi Avengers. I want that so bad. I think that would be fascinating. Maybe get like a really young Nick Fury that's kind of like the rookie that's like you could tell through his perspective.
Yeah.
Something like that. How dope would it be to see like Howard Stark working alongside, you're gonna have to recast everybody if you're gonna make it a TV series. But yeah, Howard
Right.
Stark, and I really like the actor that plays him from Mad Men, next to Hank Pym, and next to like some of the other old school people.
Mhm.
That would be dope, like the Peggy Carter series, but like make it in the '60s so it looks like Mad Men. I think that'd be really
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm on board with that. I mean, the aging technology at Disney is ridiculous now. I'm sure they could
It
do
is
it.
now. I don't know how it was in Hank. What'd you think of Hank Pym's de aging in this movie?
I thought he was good. I'm trying to think of who I didn't think was that. There was somebody else. Maybe it was in Ant-Man and the Wasp. I didn't think
Mhm.
it looked so good, but in this one, it didn't look bad because it was in short little chunks.
In Civil War, I think it is, Tony Stark looks rough.
That's what it is. Oh, Tony
Yeah.
Stark is a kid.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, that
He's
was
like, look at that
not
Play-Doh
good.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What
Oh
they call
man.
like the valleys of something, valleys of
Valley, yeah,
realism,
Uncanny Valley. Yeah, when it
the
looks
uncanny
close to human, but it's
valley.
not quite there, so you're like, I don't trust that
Yeah,
thing. That's what it
like
was.
that Beowulf movie that everybody shit on because they
Oh
were
my
like,
god, I forgot about that.
yeah, like just dead eyes everywhere. Like they're
Yeah.
looking at you, but nobody's home. Yeah.
Oh
But
man.
that was a great start. We obviously could see that Hank is a little bit like frustrated that the guy mentions Janet. And we get to
Yes.
see in this movie that that's definitely still a big factor for why he does what he does,
Yeah,
you
and
know, and
also it's important to remember that this is right before Civil War, and a key thing with
mhm.
Civil War is that it's going to divide the MCU, right? And I like how in this argument alone, we're setting up who Ant-Man's going to team with the Civil War because Peggy Carter clearly on his side, Hank
Oh,
not yeah, Stark
Howard
not on his
Stark.
side, Howard Stark,
Yeah.
thank you, not on his side, and it's like, oh, Civil War comes around, don't trust a Stark, right there, and well, if she liked Cap, I like Cap, it just makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
Oh
they're already kind of setting
man.
up this divide right here.
I didn't capture that foreshadowing that you did right there. You're so right. That was there all along. Right
Yeah.
from the start, it's setting it up. And even with the fight with Falcon, which I love that fight, by the
Oh,
way,
so good.
it's
Yeah.
so cool. Like they do such a good job of showing Falcon hold his own and then showing how badass Ant-Man's powers is. Because I don't think Scott's nearly as good of a fighter as Falcon probably is,
No, I
but
don't think so.
but that tech is just too hard to beat. It's
Yeah,
like,
some of
oh
the
man, so
lines
good.
too out of Falcon during the scene, I'll put them in here so you guys can hear them. But my favorite one, of course, is the one at the end where he says, "Don't tell Cap about this," and it's just like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, immediately Captain America was talking smack. You know, like you
Yeah.
got beat by a bug. Come
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
man.
You got beat by a little like a miniature microscopic person kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. That's shame right there.
Now,
Shame,
we
shame,
also
shame.
get knowledge or some insight on the Avengers at this time because Hank Pym talks smack a little bit again about don't trust a Stark, but also like, what are they going to do? Drop a city out of the sky on you? That's right out of the Sokovia
Oh,
situation over in Avengers,
yeah.
what, 2 with Ultron,
Age of
which
Ultron.
Ultron, I mean, I don't, not to go on too much of a rant here, Hank Pym made Ultron in the comic book, so I like how there's a little bit of something Ultron in this because he's Hank Pym's, he's not Tony Stark's, you know, so,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
such a good catch as well. Like that one's awesome. I like and I like the introduction of Scott in this movie too, right? I mean,
Yes.
like you said and you pointed out so aptly, he is the Robin Hood character. The only
Yep.
reason why he stole from Vista Corp was because he realized they were ripping off their customers. And
Hmm.
so him even working for the company realized, well, that's not right. I got to steal this money back, and then gets caught again to that point, losing 3 years with Cassie. But then we get to meet the crew as well, with headed
Oh god, they're
by
so funny.
so good, Louise. I don't remember what Dave Demolshin's character is, but there is also Ti. I don't know what his character's name is, but man, that team together is just so funny in this
Yeah.
in this movie.
So it's Louise, Kurt, and Dave. Dave is also known as Tip Ti Harris. I
Yeah.
think, you know,
Oh,
so they
that's
call
it.
him that
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
it. Real life. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I know, but
Ti.
in the thing it says Dave as. So I don't. There might be something there where they were kind of joking around about his inside
Oh,
character in one of
like
the
his
movies.
name was, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay. I see what they did there.
yeah.
Yeah, I love Dave Dusmalchin. Well, I don't know
Mm.
why that was so hard to say, but he is by far like one of my favorite comic book characters. Whether he's in DC or
Oh yeah, he's
he
great.
was in
Suicide Squad.
Marvel, is so good as Polka Dot Man.
Yeah.
He was amazing in Dune, and now in,
Oh yeah, I
yeah,
forgot about him in Dune.
he was like the oh shoot, the Baron's assistant or mentat.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh
So,
man,
oh,
I'm looking
huge
forward to
James Foster
Dune
fan.
too, man. I gotta get. Oh man, I'm hyped for that already.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So he steals the suit.
Yes.
Scott finds a sneaky way to break and steals the suit, puts it on. This is the first time we get to see him shrink, right? Because all the guys are coming back to the apartment. Scott's like,
Right.
holy crap, I gotta, test it out. Shrinks down in the bathtub. And then we first get to see the Ant-Man perspective now.
So in this perspective, when I was looking at some of the filming stuff on this, they did an interesting thing where they would like go like for this shot or whatever, like, hey, we're gonna film you between two buildings running down the thing, and then when they actually would CGI it, they use the two buildings as like the side of the tub, and they would put like a tub over it. So they had to do a lot of
Whoa.
filming where they were like, "Hey, stand next to this like big car. Okay, we're gonna make it look like a shoe or something like that." Like they would use some of the outside world, and then they get some lighting from that too, because in that room they have a big window there, um,
Mhm.
stuff like that. So it was very hard. And also one of the facts too. These are actually these fun facts, other fun facts. Um, they had to shoot a lot of scenes twice, one from the perspective of like their feet and another one while they're walking around. So if you look at like the scene where he's running between people's feet, like they would film everybody dancing on their faces and like, all right guys, do it again, but now we're gonna film your feet so that they can get Ant-Man running through. So they had to film a lot of things twice because
Oh,
of that.
what? That's so sick. What a
Yeah,
cool detail. And
yeah.
then merging that together, that man, that's so good.
Poor editing guy.
I know,
Tough
right?
job.
Those poor FX guys that
Yeah,
were all about to boycott. But hey, they did some amazing work in this movie.
they did. Yeah,
So he then gets arrested, right? And I think this is the first time we see Hank, Scott, and Hope all together, right? Because
right.
Scott wakes up in the room, and we can tell right off the bat, like Hope doesn't like him. So their transition through all of these movies, from Ant-Man to Endgame, and now Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, has really come a pretty great deal of distance. Like their relationship has grown really far now.
Well, and at this point, it's hard to remember, or it's important to remember she is jealous of Scott because Hank called his shot. He's like, I picked that guy to
Right.
be my replacement. And she's like, why not me? And she doesn't know that her mother, Janet, quote unquote, died from
Mhm.
forever shrinking into the quantum realm. So there's a thing there where it's like she's just super jealous. And then I love later on when Scott's like, it's because I'm disposable. He knows he can get rid of me. Who cares? You're
Right.
you're not disposable. And I just like, oh man, that's such this story. I was telling Jonathan he had never seen this before until like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, it's a really good story. It's the MCU's father story because you
Yeah.
hear you Scott how to be a good father, Hank learning to be a good father after being a neglectful father,
Right.
and then seeing how his effect as a father figure on Cross and ignoring him has turned him into a bad guy because Cross would not have tested so hard with the Pym particles, which then made him a lunatic. If it
Right.
was if Hank Pym realized, oh, I'm the mentor to this guy, I need to treat him properly.
Yeah. Like,
And
yeah, it
Hank
seems like
created Yellow Jacket in every way.
absolutely. Yeah, it seems like he treated him to in Hank's mind like an employee, where Cross might have saw him as a father figure. Like he's
Yeah.
like more of the dad I always wanted, maybe.
He even says in the thing, he's like, you were my father figure. And Pym was so afraid of somebody getting those particles that he, like, instead of explaining to the guy, like, hey, look, this one you just can't use, he
Mhm.
just shut him out of the secrecy. And it's like, dude, you can't give
That
him the
doesn't work.
company and then just
Mhm.
try to like pretend like, oh, it's just paperwork. Don't look at this,
Right.
And
On
so,
like on obviously, or in probably one of the biggest inventions the company's ever done or he's done, and then saying, yeah, I can't give you the formula to that, even though
yeah,
you're in charge of everything else. Oops, that's not gonna work.
yeah. I really like how in this one too, we hear some really good dialogue out of Cross, kind of like this idea of like there's this mythical creature almost that used to help the US Army, and he's saying like, yeah, I know it's propaganda, but you could hear it in his voice. He knows it's not propaganda. He's playing that up in front of Pym, who finally came back to the office. And
Right.
I just really like that dialogue there because you could hear so much in the actor. Let me pull up his name real fast here.
Yeah, I believe he's in Succession too, I think is it? Or he's
uh
or Billions.
House of Cards. I know he's in House of Cards. Okay,
Okay.
for some reason I can't find it. Anyways, he's a very here it is.
Yeah.
It's Corey Stoll.
Corey Stoll, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Super good actor, way, way, way underrated. But
Absolutely.
you can hear in his voice, it's kind of like, I know it's propaganda, but he's almost like this hopeful child talking to his dad, like, I know the
He's
truth
like,
about Santa
now are
kind of
you
thing.
yeah, like now are you
Yeah.
gonna tell me? Like he's
Yes,
like,
that's
I know, but you're not telling me the truth. Like, I need to hear it from your mouth now. On like,
perfect.
yeah, you've created this Pym particle, like hook a brother up.
Corey Stoll kills it in this role because he's playing so many things. First off, you're like, oh yeah, he's evil, but he's not evil. He's a good guy who, again, it's important to remember, was manipulated by Pym particles to become crazy. And he's also like
Mm.
mistreated entire life. It's just like he's so complicated, and I like that character a lot, and he killed it. He did a great
Yeah,
job.
absolutely. Yeah, he's good. And you can see him slowly starting to turn more and more evil, from shrinking
Hmm.
that guy into goo
Yeah,
to, eventually escaping and putting on the yellow jacket suit. Yeah, I really liked him. I thought he did a fantastic job. Even the way he interacts with Hope. There's
Yeah.
like there's something there, and he can't put his finger on it, but she's his confidant, but she's really double crossing him. There's a lot of kind of interpersonal struggles and conundrums going on in this movie
Yeah.
that they're not really heavy handed about, and I like that about this movie.
Yeah, and Darren Cross, by the way, the character, not really a comic book character. This is something that the MCU invented, which they slowly started to become more and more frequent with. And, eventually we got to Shang-Chi where they basically invented all his powers. And now the latest
Mhm.
Ant-Man movie where they're inventing everything. Like nothing from the newest Ant-Man movie is really pulled from the comics.
Right.
But
Well,
but
yeah, it's
Darren,
like it feels like it pulled from so many comics. You can't like put your finger on one, like, oh, this is from Ant-Man issue volume 2 or whatever.
right.
It's
There's
like,
no like
yeah.
basis that it's on, but it's like, well, we're gonna pull. Let's get MODOK in here. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like a kid with
Exactly.
action figures at this point.
I
I'm not saying
know.
that that's bad. I'm going to enjoy the action figure fight, but that's what's going on in
Yes.
this latest one.
Yeah.
And so I just shout out to that. But then you get this love triangle almost happening, right? With Evangeline Lilly, amazing actor as well as Hope van
Yes.
Dyne. I really liked her portrayal because again, she's just trying to like impress her dad, but also kind of stop all this from happening, and that's not easy
Right.
to portray. So
Yeah, it's like the person she sided with, she sees that they're going too far, and the person she has to run to, her dad, he's neglected her and she has a strained relationship. So now she has to figure out, do I follow the person who I've trusted in so long, or do I go back to my dad who's always let me down? And that's kind of the interesting thing. And then
yeah,
you got Scott in the middle. By just him being there and trying to be a good person, he's now mending their relationship. So that's the other side to it too. And plus, she gets to like just in trying to prove himself to all of them, to Hank and to Hope, she's also just kicking his ass.
she really is. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
full on a badass.
Yeah.
Which
She's
again,
like, I'm
she's
gonna
gonna
show you how
become
it's done.
Wasp, so that's handy. But yeah, I
Yes.
like how she trained her entire life. She proved it with the I want to talk about that too. She proved
Mhm.
it like, hey, I know how to control the ants better than you. You could tell whether or not Hank was there. She trained to be the new Ant Man forever. She knew that
Right.
was her goal. And then I love when she does get control of it. There's like an emotional tie because then she starts to darken the room with the ants. Like it's almost like
Yeah.
you can get because it's not the mind control that's changing her, the changing the brain chemistry, but you almost felt like, oh man, it's doing it automatically. And it
Yeah.
was just, I think it was kind of showing some of the, I don't know, anger that she
Yeah.
used to control the ants, almost in spite of the old Ant Man kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So well said. Yeah. Her emotions were coordinating the ants, and they were just the way they were moving and interacting and surrounding the room was just embodying her emotion at that
Yeah,
point. So, yeah,
the way
absolutely.
they changed the lighting to darken is like, oh, that's
Yeah.
so well done.
So good. Yeah, and that's something I feel like we've missed kind of moving forward in the MCU, because in this movie, the way they use the ants is so damn good. From
Yes.
blocking out the camera to bringing in the small suit to Hank controlling them just to drop in, the ice or the sugar cubes. Like
Yeah.
he uses them in all facets of the life in Ant-Man's life and in his life, and it's so good. It's just an interesting little thing that I feel like most of the new movies didn't carry on with.
We're gonna have a we're recording this before we watch Ant-Man and the Quantumanium, but we're also, like we were talking about before, we've seen some of the reviews and some of the complaints and stuff like that with it, and some of the
Yeah.
highlights. I want to make sure highlights as well. But
Mhm.
one of the things that somebody brought up, you were saying, this was you that said this, was about like, well, shrinking is his main thing. Shrinking is not going to be a big deal in this world. I
Right.
also want to throw up, there's no ants there either. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
take away his ability to control ants, and that's one of the big two abilities he has.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think we kind of touched on a little bit about how they use special effects and perspective. And one of the coolest things about Ant-Man is he's able to shrink down, and his perspective is from an ant. So when he's
Yeah.
super small, everything looks giant. The stairs look bigger, people's feet look bigger. He's the size of a sugar cube. The ants are his size. So if he's in the quantum realm where everything's small, what is to scale his height compared to anything else? You know what I mean? Like it takes away
Right.
the cool factor, I think, a little bit. And I wonder if that's causing some of people's complaints for
Yeah,
this new
because you
movie.
could tell, like in Ant Man, so in the second Ant Man movie, also Civil War, and definitely in Endgame, they're like, okay, let's use the Giant Man ability now. So, like, okay, so cool. He's going to expand himself, he's going to make himself bigger. Cool. Now we've locked away the other thing that this thing can do. There's only
Mhm.
one more thing that he does, and it says Yellow Jacket, and it's where he makes a shrinking gun.
Right.
If he brings that forward, but that's not really a Paul Rudd Ant Man move, you could tell, like, this character wouldn't wield a gun on screen, I think. But that's like
Yeah.
the only thing I could think he would bring into this that's not already tapped. So they're gonna have to really get creative and almost invent a new ability for him.
Oh yeah. Unless yeah, I mean I really hope it's not just him as Giant Man the whole time. I mean that power is cool. There's nobody currently in the MCU that has it
Mhm.
besides him, but it kind of again the ability to shrink down and be more powerful is so unique and it's
Yeah,
something they do so well in this movie in the first Ant-Man. Just her saying, "Hey, you're able to pack 200-pound force in something that's a quarter of an inch." And that's basically like you turn into a bullet. And
yeah,
that concept to me, I'm like, that's so sick. It's such a
it's really
cool
cool.
idea.
Yeah, it's. I wonder, do you think he can control how powerful he hits? Because he can hit like a bullet, but he also lands on ants that are flying. So I'm wondering if he has the ability to kind of like change
That's,
his density. I know he could
that's
change his mass. I
so
don't know if he could change his density.
that's such a good point. I would assume so, right? I mean,
Yeah.
because otherwise every ant he jumps on would just fall to the ground and
He'd
die.
obliterate him. He's shooting ants basically.
Yeah.
But like when he first gets his ability, he lands on the tile. He shatters the tile. So it's like, oh wow, your weight is that much too. But then you're like, man, I just saw you jump on Anthony, and he's still flying. So he must be able
Yeah.
to change his density or his something, his weight or something like that. It must be part of the thing.
Absolutely. You're right. Yeah. Because even when he's training to jump through that door, the lock through the
Mhm.
door, he keeps missing, right? He keeps slamming into it.
Yeah.
Like eventually he gets it. And I mean, you'd think if he was that powerful every time, he would just shatter a hole in the door if he missed, but he
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah.
So there has to be some type of density at play here, or like
Yeah.
weight differential thing. I don't know. I'm not smart enough. I'm not a PIM student. So I don't know.
Scientists that work at the PIM, let us know, guys. Hit us up on our
Yeah,
Twitter account.
yeah. Everybody from PIM Labs, come holler at us.
Speaking of that scene, I think this is one of the best Marvel montages ever. Uh, the only two I could think of that I like better is, of course, Iron Man building the Iron Man suit while he's in the cave. Like that is the best montage
Right.
possibly ever. But I
Mhm.
also really like when we have Falcon learning to use the shield and then eventually become Captain America when in the Falcon series.
Right.
But I think this one's a lot of fun because I mean it's got a good mix of humor and then also like it's teaching you about the Ant-Man abilities. We see him talking to Hope a lot in this so that he's kind of like building that relationship too. It really packs a lot into this montage.
Absolutely. Yeah. You get how hard it is to master the tech, how hard it is to learn how to communicate with the ants, and it makes it so satisfying at the end when he's able to do all those things.
Yeah.
You're like not anybody can just put on the suit and do it. Not anybody can put on that brain receptor and control the ants.
Yeah.
And yeah, you get to see it here. And again, yeah, it just makes it satisfying later on.
Yeah. I love those damn ants. They give you get you really attached to them, especially Anthony. I was like, no,
I know when Anthony gets shot, it like literally, I think the first time I was ready for it this time, but I think the first time I watched it, I was like, no, and
Yeah.
then they just mess with you in Ant-Man and the Wasp, where a bunch of them kind of get eaten. He has to like, get to the boat
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
big with the lab, and every one of them just keeps getting eaten by seagulls. I was like, those seagulls are dicks.
Yeah. And doesn't he name all those ants too? So he's like, no, whoever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think he does.
I
I don't
got there was
remember.
a bunch of names. The only ones I remember are the ones that survived, which was Annie passed away in this movie, but in Ant-Man and the Wasp, he calls him Antonio Banderas.
That's
So that was
right.
like the second one. Yeah.
It's so freaking Paul Rudd. Scott Lang, I gotta say, I think Hank Pym is the better Ant-Man, and I really wish they would totally depict him in the proper way. We did a whole
Right.
from the pages, by the way, that released on the Geek Freaks Patreon and Bitcade. It's completely free, but
Check
I
it
break
out.
down Hank Pym, so you guys can listen to that, and it's not very long.
Nice.
He is very good, but I think Scott Lang is better for the MCU than Hank Pym would have been because he's kind of got the dad jokes, right? I think Paul Rudd is always that young, goofy dad. I could just see him like taking the kids to soccer practice after saving the world.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised. I remember when it first got announced and they said Paul Rudd is going to be Ant-Man. I was like, holy crap, what
Yeah.
a choice. I had a little hard time envisioning him being a badass. And they do a good job of making it work. Even in the beginning jail cell scene, you're kind of like, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't really buy it, but he's
Yeah.
shredded in this movie. And you got to think that the powers make him more badass.
Yeah.
So you're right. That dynamic really, really works well. And one thing that I love at the end of the training montage is that conversation between Hank Pym and Scott, where Hank says,
So
uh,
right.
yeah, he says, this is your chance to earn that look in your daughter's eye, to become the hero she already thinks you are. And that line, oh man, you're right. Just bringing the whole dad to daughter conversation. Oh man, that part just hits me right in the heart. I
Yeah.
love that line. And yeah, you can just see the light bulb go on in Scott's head. And he's like, I got to do this. I got to figure this out.
That's the connection that binds them more than anything else. And I wonder if that's subconsciously one of the connections that Hank found in Scott when he selected him, was like,
Right.
this guy gets it because he's having a hard time with his daughter. I wonder if just, I don't know, there's got to be something there, because you saw that light bulb and you're like, man, these two are the same page, just trying to be good dads and really sucking at it.
Yeah.
But they're
Yeah,
trying.
their jobs and their passions or whatever you want to call it are just keep taking them away from their kids.
Yeah.
And yeah, in this one, we get to see that through circumstances, Hope and Hank are brought together, but also the whole time, the whole reason why Scott takes the job in the first place is to get some money to pay child support to then be with Cassie.
Right.
And he just can't do it because damn Baskin Robbins always knows.
They always know.
They always know. And, and he
Oh,
gets,
man.
fired from his job. I mean, he gets a free smoothie on the way out, but he needed that child support, man.
That smoothie sounded good though.
Yeah, it did. It looked bomb. It was like mango or something. It sounded delicious.
This guy, his boss, praises him before he fires him. Got me thinking, do you think, okay, so at the time, I think they had to make him a Robin Hood because they were like, yeah, this is a family movie. This is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We can't just have like a criminal become a superhero.
Right.
Now that we've developed so much since 2015, this movie's already, 8 years old? That's pretty freaking nuts.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Do you think now in the current MCU, we could actually take like a hardened criminal and make them into a hero? Has the MCU developed enough?
Yes, I do think so. I think that's what's coming with the Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
But, I think they're going to take a enemy. I'm trying to think of who, though. I mean, Yelena is an assassin. She's not like a nice person. And he's completely reformed, I think, in everybody's eyes. But the Winter Soldier, again, his whole start was trying to fight the Avengers to kill Captain America, Falcon, and Black Widow. He was brutally murdering people. So
ask Howard Stark if he's a nice guy.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do think Taskmaster might be a trick there, but Taskmaster was like manipulated. But
right.
Taskmaster was straight up a villain in Black Widow.
Yes.
Until the very end. Maybe that's one. But I do think you're right. I do think there's something there where maybe we can get. Nowadays, we also don't have straight up villains like we do anymore. Like in Iron Man 1, it was like, yeah, that dude's the bad guy. He's trying to steal Stark's company, whatever. Nowadays, even speaking of Ant-Man 2, the villain Ghost is so freaking gray and not black and white that by the end you're just like, go give her a hug.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. That's my one issue with that movie, because I also watched that, and then I watched a little bit of Civil War, and then I started watching Endgame because I want to absorb all the Ant-Man before we go see Quantumania. But she was so great, and you feel so sympathetic for her at the end that when she's trying to fight them to get the lab, it almost to me doesn't make sense. It's almost like they should just say, hey, stop. We're going to open the lab. We're going to help you out. It could have ended. Yeah, we could have talked it out. And that's the thing I didn't necessarily like about her as a villain. But in this movie, the first Ant-Man, Darren Cross is pretty bad. He just escalates and getting worse and worse and worse.
But
and I miss that. And I love that.
I agree with you, but even at this point, I'm like, yeah, but it's the brain chemistry thing. It's like not his fault.
I know it's true, but maybe it can't be reversed either. And I like
that's true.
that he's more of a black and white villain, and I kind of miss that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Especially in the I got a question for you. You're familiar with Hank Pym in the comic books, right? So
yeah, we'll find out.
Yellow Jacket is really a split personality of Hank Pym.
Right.
And he's the more daring and kind of risk-taking, stuff like that.
He goes into the gray a little bit more, at least from what I remember.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. There's times where he's like literally attacking Avengers. So do you think that they've told Darren Cross to like, hey, try to be evil Ant-Man? Like, is that an option? Do you think they like try to make this guy the evil persona version of Hank Pym in writing him?
I think that's a great observation. You're probably right. I could see that happening because, it's juxtaposing Hank. And at the end of the day, Darren is just trying to do something that Hank's already done, which is create a Pym particle.
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's all he wants to do. And yes, his idea for it, or at least again, I don't know if this is before corruption or after, he's just trying to make a profit out of it, which
Mhm.
is the whole idea behind, I guess, any company. But he does it to an extreme and putting other people's lives in danger, and to the point where he kills them. So yeah, I could totally see them giving him source material or comics and saying, hey, read this, you're going to be his version or our version of Yellow Jacket.
Yeah, just because they made the character up, but I also think like maybe they didn't make the character up. Maybe they're just like, you're evil Hank Pym. We're just gonna make it two different roles for the
Right.
sake of not trying to confuse everybody right off the bat with Hank Pym. I
Yeah,
think that
that's
makes
true.
more sense
And
because like
and
I think in the beginning he was like, I want to make the next U.S. soldier. By the end, he's like, Hydra's good guys now.
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
like no, they're not. They
yeah,
never have
exactly.
been.
He just goes full evil for sure. I think they tried to touch on it a little bit too with the What If episode, where, spoiler
Oh,
alert if
good
you
point.
haven't watched What If, but it basically, Hank Pym blames, the Avengers because of, I think, Hope's death. And so he then attacks all the Avengers. They need Loki to beat him, but I mean, he kills everybody. He kills the Hulk. I mean, that was pretty badass. I like that,
Yeah.
using the enlarging disc to blow up the Hulk's heart. That was
What ifs
crazy.
are super, super good. I don't think a lot of people seen those for some reason, but they
Yeah,
are really, really good.
they are. I like the comic. The comic What Ifs to me were 1,000 times better
Oh
than
yeah.
the show, but the show had moments where I was like, "That's a really cool idea. I wish it was just executed a little bit finer."
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got a wall here of some of my favorite comic books mounted up between the foams. One of
yeah.
them is What If Punisher Killed Spider-Man? And it's like one of my pride and
Oh,
joys. Yeah. That
I don't know
thing
if
is
I've read that one.
beautiful. Oh, it's amazing.
No, you just gave me homework. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, how do you think this movie ties into what we're going to be seeing in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania?
Okay, so I think the key with this thing, and I probably have heard it from an interview, so I'm not saying I'm smart at all. So don't ever think that.
Greg said he
But
came up with this idea.
genius mode activated. No, I think the fact that he missed some of his daughter's life because of prison, and then he missed it because of the blip,
Right.
I think we're gonna see him do irrational things to try to save Cassie as much as possible. Not save Cassie, but be with Cassie as much as possible. And I think that's gonna mess up his judgment. I think especially we're gonna see that he's doting over her too much when Cassie's like, I'm ready to be my own hero at this point, right? So
Right. I'm
and
my own
and
person.
right,
Yeah.
the Young Avengers, yeah, or even her own person. You're right. Yeah, she's probably ready to drive her car, and he won't even let her do that type of thing.
Yeah.
So, because during the 5 years, for him it was just nothing, right? All of a sudden, boom! 5 years later, she wasn't blipped, so she actually grew 5 years older, and that I think we might have seen in something has hit him hard. You know,
That's another great point. Yeah, it's interesting because watching Endgame, you could see the look on his face. And I love that they planted the seed for this movie in Ant-Man 1, where he said,
yeah,
I've already lost time with Cassie. And then Kang says it to him, and which we've already seen in the trailer. Yeah, man, I know you've lost a lot of time. I can give it to you.
there it
And
is.
it's like,
That's right.
yeah. And
I
it's
knew
like
I heard it somewhere.
yeah, right. From Ant-Man 1 to now, so however many years later, like you were saying, maybe 8 years later, it's like, dang, it was there from the start. Yes,
Yeah,
he probably will do something crazy to get that time back. And he's already done time travel in Endgame where it's worked. He's used time travel to
yeah.
fix things. So he's like, well, why can't I use it again to like fix, the relationship or the time I lost with my daughter? That to me seems like a no-brainer. Of course, he'll probably do some irrational stuff.
I often forget the fact that like quantum manium's already been used, or the quantum realm has already been used for time travel. I forgot about how like the Avengers used it a lot in Infinity War.
Yeah, it's such like a small little detail, and I think that's the one thing that I love with the MCU, where they take something. I'm hoping they incorporate this more into Phase 5, but
Yeah,
they take something from a previous phase that may have just been a little breadcrumb, and then they turn it into like this whole, gingerbread house full of like just awesomeness.
yeah, I gotta say, so Entertainment Weekly did an interview with Kevin Feige. I say Feige, by the way. I don't know. I think it's Feige, maybe. I don't know. Anyways,
Yeah,
who
if you say
knows?
Feige or Feig, you're damn
Get
wrong.
out of
Okay,
here.
yeah,
Yeah,
get out of here with that
that's not even
nonsense.
up for debate. It's like GIF for GIF, and somebody's like, it's Giphy. Get out of here.
Yeah, get out. Yeah, it's not peanut
So
butter.
yeah, nice. Um, but they did an interview with him, and it's a very long read, sure, but in that thing, he really set up what Phase 5 is going to be, and it's sounding perfect. And a couple of things they mentioned is that first off, Spider-Man's coming back for a new Spider-Man movie. That was in the
Yeah,
interview.
yeah. Oh
Um,
man.
and he kind of set up like, hey, the Ant-Man movie coming up will be the most impactful or Marvel movie since Endgame. It'll be the most important for pushing the story forward. He also said a few other things like there are a little bit too many Marvel shows right now. We're going to try to narrow that down a little bit
I
because
was really surprised by that line.
yeah, I think he knows that like the shows have too much power as well. Like think of how powerful Loki's show is right now. It
Yeah,
it basically made Doctor Strange's movie and stuff. So
absolutely. Miss
they're gonna kind
Marvel
of bring this
time
down a little bit.
traveled. Moon Knight had a god in it. That
Yeah,
was like there was a big god kaiju battle. I mean, there's like huge repercussions in these shows, and they're like, yeah, the movie's like, well, whatever. Like,
in Moon Knight, I think her name's Basset, is Black Panther's god. So then you're like,
right,
okay, can we talk to her about bringing back T'Challa? Like she's right
right.
there, type of thing like
Yeah,
that. So
I
there's all
just
kinds of
kept
questions.
thinking 100%. They didn't touch on that at all, which I thought was a little bit of a weak choice. I thought, they should have maybe explained her away where, she had priority somewhere else. Like even like I'm so big on qualifying lines. Like one thing, and this is I know I'm jumping across the aisle, but one thing that worked for me, I always think about this example was Manta in Aquaman when he has the
Yeah,
helmet on and he shoots the lasers in and he's like, I'm gonna need a bigger helmet to control the laser blast.
I
That
know, love that.
that line right there perfectly was like, okay, I get why he has the fish tank size helmet now
Yeah,
because he needs it to control the blast. Like if they give me qualifying lines like that in MCU, I'm set. I'm good. Just
yeah.
just give me a little explanation. I'm on
It
board.
does not need to make sense. Actually, I just had an interview with some comic book writers where they were trying to find a way to explain some tech they built up. And I was saying, like, it's like in Star Trek, you don't have to explain why a warp engine works. You just have to say that glowing tube makes us go fast. And so that we know, like, oh, okay, gotcha, glowing tube makes us go fast. As
Right.
long as you set up a rule like that, then we know glowing tube took damage. We're not going to go fast. Like, that's all you got to do.
Right.
And Marvel sometimes doesn't do that. But you're right. That's a really good example of it being done right in Aquaman.
Yeah. Again, and to bring it kind of back to this movie, I think they did such a good job with Hank and his lines in explaining the
Yeah.
Pim Tech particle, like just explaining it. He does such a good job with it. Like it condenses the molecules in between. And yeah, I'm not can't think of anything now off the top of my head, but I just thought they did a really good job of just kind of giving these scientific little tidbits. Michael Douglas does a fantastic job of delivering those lines, and then you believe it, and the story is able to move on.
Yeah, he does it quickly, and it makes sense in the conversation, which is, a
Yes.
lot of times it doesn't. Like they're just like, oh, we have to explain this real quick, like it's the beginning of a video game. No,
Right,
it
right,
actually
right.
makes sense in the dialogue. I like
Mhm.
that a lot.
Yeah, definitely. One of the last things I guess I have to ask is, do you think we see Louise and the heist crew in this upcoming movie?
We at least a post credit, guys. You cannot do a movie without them now. I
Yeah,
really want to see a thing where like maybe them and Wong and like let's get some of the side characters from all the MCU movies to kind of get a band together. That's
right.
you know
How are they not in the background of Shang-Chi? Like that was like
that would have
crazy to
been
me.
good.
The
Yeah.
van should have been there, or they should have like Shang-Chi should have lived across the street from the whatever they call it, the security office.
Or
Like
when
something like that would have
Yeah,
been
there's like the
great.
bus scene or whatever. Like, what if they were riding on the bus or something like that, or the bus at the van or something like
Oh,
that? That would have been hilarious.
yeah. Or their ad was on the bus.
Yeah, you know what we're building? Oh gosh, we keep talking about Young Avengers. We're
Mhm.
building West Coast Avengers actually because we got
Yeah.
Ant-Man, we've got Shang-Chi. I think Hawkeye. I'm
Could
not sure.
easily be there. I mean,
Uh,
Kate Bishop can go there for
there
sure.
we go. There we go.
Where did White Vision go? White Vision could be there as well.
We better see him in the Agatha series. I cannot wait to start covering the Agatha series here on Challenge Accepted.
Yeah.
That is. Oh, I'm so freaking excited for that.
Yeah, what's funny, I was not too excited for it. I did like her character in it. And now, like, I've seen some of the leaked pictures.
Yes.
Damn, I'm getting excited. I'm like, oh boy, Westview's back in the mix. So yes, I do also hope that Louise and that crew has some little tidbit in this movie because you're right. I don't know if it would feel like an MM movie without them.
Yeah. All right, you ready for some fun facts?
Please, yeah,
Okay, here we go.
hit
This is one
me.
of my favorites. When Paul Rudd told his 9-year-old son he was going to play Ant-Man, his son said, "Wow, I can't wait to see how stupid that'll be."
What every father wants to hear.
Yeah. For the 1980s flashback scenes, the de-aging effects that were used on the 70-year-old Michael Douglas to turn a 57-year-old Martin Donovan to make them appear younger. I'm sorry. So they put that on the 57-year-old Martin Donovan. Oh boy.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
they
Okay.
combined, yeah. So they combined that with a wig and makeup to make him look younger. So not only is it just visual effects, but they also use a younger person to kind of do a stand-in thing. We saw this with Luke Skywalker as well. They use a
Mhm.
younger person, they put a wig on them, they do some makeup, and then that makes the de-aging effects a little easier on them.
That's
So
so smart. Oh my god, dude, that makes the Black Widow kind of screen mask that she puts on in Winter Soldier. It makes it feel like it could possibly happen in the future. Hearing
yeah,
that,
that's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
it's crazy.
According to Michael Douglas, the costume for Paul Rudd had to be altered because of his muscles. Rudd had gone on extensive training and workout regimen in order to build a proper muscle size for a superhero, but Rudd had become so muscular that the suit wouldn't fit anymore. Because
Yes, something wasn't shrinking.
Yeah, nice. Ant-Man's not meant to be like a strong superhero, but he's like, well, I'm going to be in a Marvel movie. I'm not going to be the weak guy on set. So he made sure
Dude,
to buff up.
it makes sense why that shirtless scene was in the movie now.
Yeah. While Edgar Wright was working on the film, he requested that Marvel refrain from using Ant-Man or the Wasp until he finished the movie, which is why they were absent from the Avengers. They wanted to toss him in the Avengers, but he's
Oh,
like, hold on, I'm not done yet. Matter of fact, Edgar Wright had a hell of a time with Marvel and eventually left the project before it was finished, although he's still accredited for writing and everything like that on the film. He actually is like, I got to step away. You know, Marvel,
yeah.
we've heard in the past, especially in the early days, was rough on their directors.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and actually, again, it was probably on that same leak page. I'm not gonna advertise it, but he actually filmed something too, and he filmed a little fight scene, and it's pretty badass. Like it
Yeah.
looks a little bit darker than what we got in the normal, or I guess like the continuity Ant-Man movie, but it's pretty good as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I got two more small
cool.
ones for you. There's a poster for
Oh, I see what you did there.
oh, I didn't even mean to, but that's how perfect this
Yeah.
show is, guys. It's natural
Yeah.
like that. Posters for Pingo Doce, the Brazilian soda company Bruce Banner worked for in The Incredible Hulk 2008, was featured in San Francisco on the walls. So they're advertising the
Oh,
soda that Bruce Banner worked for.
that's the kind of continuity that I like right
I
there.
love it.
See,
I love
give me
it.
some of that in Phase 5, and I'm on board. Yeah, I'll be at every movie and show.
Yeah. All right. So this is the last one. Some in-house stuff here. Okay. So the laser sounds fired from Yellow Jacket's suit are the same sounds as the main guns on an AT-AT being fired from Star Wars movies.
Yeah,
Both owned by Disney folks. So that's like, hey, let's just use the same one we got in this file over here.
yeah, and it's so funny. I remember looking up that fact right after I watched the movie the first time, because I was like, wait. That sounds so Star Wars. What is that? And then
Yeah.
yeah, I Googled it. I was like, oh yeah, it's an at 100%. So yes,
Oh
that is
man.
awesome. It's a great movie though. It to me is perfectly segues into Civil War and perfectly kind of makes it Ant-Man, and no pun intended here, but like a bigger character in the story than you'd think. And it really ties him to the whole continuity of everything. And man, is he important in Endgame. I mean, the
Yeah.
rat you could argue is more important than him, but he's still important.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think we can't do justice on an Ant-Man story without talking about the big theory on him and Thanos. Do you think
Oh
do
my
you
gosh.
think Ant-Man would have been able to beat Thanos if the theory held up?
I mean, yeah, 100% because it worked for Yellow Jacket and the Hulk.
I think it would have worked. Yeah, go
Yeah.
in there.
I
Go
don't know
small, then go
how.
big.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Have you watched the latest season of Vox Machina?
No, I have not. No.
Okay. So I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a certain point where somebody goes up a butt and tries to like destroy the dragon in there.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it always seems to work.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, yeah, I think he could have. That would have been a dirty job,
Yeah.
but hey, that was to save half the universe. So I
I
think he should
like
have
how
tried.
Jonathan Majors immediately is already having to like answer questions on Will Paul Rudd be going for the butt? You know, and it's like guys, I'm here to promote a movie. I don't know what to say to
Yeah.
this.
Well, what's he supposed to do? Like jump in through his mouth if that's not an option? Like how do you know what I mean? Like I don't know how you.
He's got that blue mask on. He can't go through the mouth. There's
That's
another option.
true. Yeah, every orifice is covered on Kang, all
Oh
right,
man.
people. So it's
Yeah.
not happening.
Oh God, we could. The boys really did this actually in a way too. If you guys haven't seen the new season of Boys.
Oh yes. Oh my God. The boys one was I think I could watch that scene once and be good forever. That was pretty gnarly.
My friend was watching it. Actually, Kyle from Level Up and Geek Freaks uh, was watching it, and his dad walked in and was like, that during that specific scene, he was like,
Oh my
"What the
god.
hell are you watching?" It's like, let me
Yeah, like,
explain. That's probably the worst part of this episode, maybe season. So don't worry.
yeah, he's like, son, what are you getting yourself into?
Oh man.
Hey, to each your own. Each, yeah, yeah. I don't know. Obviously I'm not a dad because I'm already feeling awkward about this.
All right. I think we should close out with a couple of reviews from ourselves. But first, let's go into some shitty reviews to get us warmed up, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Here's one. OMG 10-year-old movie. Classic 10-year-old movie. After seeing how many people thought this movie was great, I watch it. It has to be the dullest movie of all times. Nothing about it is great. Lame humor, superhero fights, big deal. I rated this one because it's absolute garbage. It's the peak it has no peaks at any point.
Oh man.
What happened to this guy? What did Paul Rudd do to this guy?
Yeah, serious. Okay, wait. I want to know, does this guy like any superhero movies at all?
Because I think
One.
the fight out on the train is hilarious and fun.
Well,
It's like both funny and cool.
yeah, it's hilarious when they're like epic battle. He's throwing train sets, and then you see it from like a normal person's perspective, a normal sized person, and then the trains just hit each other and fall over
Yeah,
off
they
the
always
track.
drop the music out too. It's
Yeah,
like,
that part cracks me up. So I don't know. It doesn't sound like a comic book fan, and maybe Paul Rudd cut in front of him at a line in Starbucks. Well, Paul Rudd lives on the East Coast, so maybe at Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know.
Dunkin' Donuts. I think yeah, he cut him at Dunkin' Donuts. I like that idea. Okay, so let's see. Big disappointment. Me and my kids have enjoyed all the Marvel films so far, so we went to go see Ant-Man. It was a big mistake. I was bored. The kids were bored, asking to go home. By the time we were going out, people were grumbling. And no, it was this guy actually said this. No, it wasn't my kids grumbling the whole time. So it's
All
AKA,
right.
yeah, your kids were complaining in the theaters the whole time, bro. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah, yeah.
that is.
Let's be real, man. They were like, Dad, I don't know what's going on. And I will give him that there are some technical terms in this, and you really have to pay attention to follow the themes. But, it's also like there's enough eye popping things for kids.
Yeah.
Like,
I think the
uh,
truth is Michael Douglas went to the playground and pushed his kids off the swings.
that
I think Michael
must have been
Douglas is
it.
like, my turn, and just pushed them off and jumped on there. And that's why this guy had to go to IMDb to complain. I think that's the truth of it.
Exactly. Yeah. He cut in front of them at the toy store. We pushed all their stuff out of their stroller, and then was like, yeah, you guys suck, and then left the
Yeah.
store.
This is my
That's
Hot
graphic.
Wheels.
Yeah, that's good. Exactly. He then put it in the Ant-Man case in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and shrunk it down so he could drive them.
That tank was so dope. When he's like, it's
Yeah.
not a keychain. I'm like, yes, that's awesome.
Yes. Yeah,
I would
exactly.
totally do that. All right, so let's give our personal reviews for this. What is your quick review for this that you'd submit to IMDb?
Let's say a fantastic intro for a legacy character. There's plenty of action, a lot of good story and character building, but not a 10 out of 10. But for me, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I would say it's a fun romp, plenty of adventure. It definitely mixes in more comedy than it does adventure or action. I think
Right.
it brings in a unique hero with unique abilities to a universe that has some similar heroes, and it's just something different and unique. So I give it. I'll go with the 8 out of 10 solid. Let's do 8 out of 10 on us. I think that's good too.
Actually, okay, I just want to take your review now. That was way better.
So I'm gonna submit our reviews to IMDb, guys. You're gonna start seeing challenge accepted reviews on IMDb. You look around
Yes.
for them, and that way we can start building up this professional catalog of challenge accepted reviews on there. I think that's gonna be fun.
Shoot, you know what? And we need to do a letterbox. And we're gonna be doing.
Oh,
letterbox.
that's a great idea.
I'm gonna run the
You're right.
letterbox.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna
I
do
got
that.
it. Yeah, that's gonna be great.
Challenge accepted letterbox. Oh, it's perfect.
Heck yeah.
That's it for us this one. Oh, but what are you gonna be watching next? I wonder. So I was thinking, you know what? It's time we could do some dumpster diving.
Oh,
So my challenge to
no.
you, and I haven't seen this movie either, so I'm gonna be watching for the first time.
All
You're gonna be
right.
watching 2019's Cats.
No. Oh my gosh. Freaking butthole scandal. Here we come.
If you could find the one where they didn't like take out all the buttholes, or the what's it with Derulo's whatever, the Dong cut.
Oh my God.
Bonus credit if you find those. But yeah, we're gonna be watching Cats. I haven't seen this because of course I haven't.
Yeah. Oh,
And
well,
I'm adding an extra challenge. This is something from Sloop. I want you to find, we'll both find 3 positive things about this movie we have to talk about.
oh my goodness.
We can talk shit all we want, but we got to walk away with at least 3 positive notes.
Frank, right now I love and hate you a little bit. So I'm not looking forward to this, but it could be a fun one.
Watch Cats with us, guys. You never know. It might be this weird hit we just didn't know about.
Yeah, it's true. I'm gonna need like at least a couple cups of whiskey, a couple glasses of whiskey for this one.
Oh, it's gonna make it so much better.
Yeah, it's gonna have to.
Yeah. All right, guys. We will be coming to you next with the Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumanium. That's the next one. Then we got The Last of Us, then Cats. So it'll be a while before you hear a Cats review, but so much content coming to you guys from Challenge Accepted. And yeah, that's basically it. I guess I'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Hello, everybody.